Welcome to Your Mac Life for Wednesday, October the 28th, 2015, show number
1067.
She's Kim. I'm Shawn. Thank you guys very much for joining us. As you can see, we have a new studio set up. I have a new studio space. But I don't have another TV set, so Kim has to be on camera with me right there. Just little. There she is. Little head. There she is. On tonight's show, we're going to be talking to our good friend Jim Dalrymple from The Loop at loopinsight.com about Apple's earnings. Apple once again made buttloads of money and sold insane numbers of products, more Macs than ever, more iPhones than ever. iPads are down. It's the same thing as before, and yet Wall Street still plunges them. Every 3 months we go through this, and I just don't understand. It makes my brain explode. We'll talk about that with Jim Dalrymple. The new Apple TV went on sale, pre-order, earlier this week. Are you getting an Apple TV? Are you going to get a third? No, you don't even know what an Apple TV is, do you?
Yeah, it's a TV that Apple makes.
No, it's not. See?
The box. It's the box. No, it's the box.
We'll talk a little bit about that later on, too. But send me an email on air at Your Mac Life Show if you are getting an Apple TV. If you're not getting an Apple TV. I'm not, if only because it's so expensive for what it'll do. And I don't have the money right now. But a very nice listener, he knows who. They know who they are.
They know who they are.
One of our Secret Santas. We have 3 Secret Santas, and one of the Secret Santas has popped up and said, would you like to give away an Apple TV on the show? I said, hell yes. So what we're going to do is for the month of November, we're going to take entry forms for the Apple TV drawing. And then the first show in December, we're going to draw a random name out of our virtual hat, and someone's going to win a 64-gigabyte Apple TV. So thanks very much to our Secret Santa for doing that. The way to get an entry form is, it doesn't cost a thing. All you have to do is go to the website, yourmaclifeshow.com. And right there at the top of the page, it says Friends of YML Contest Entry Form. Fill out that entry form with a correct, viable email address, because that's how I contact you to tell you won. With the email address, it sends me an email. I drop it into a virtual hat, and boom, it's done. Or even better, from my point of view, you can subscribe to Your Mac Life. Same website, yourmaclifeshow.com. On the left-hand side of the screen, you can see subscribe to Your Mac Life. And what that'll do, you click on that and you choose $2, $5, $10, $15 a month, whatever it might be. You subscribe to Your Mac Life. It sends me an email. I put your name in the same virtual hat. And for every $2 above the initial $2, I give you an extra entry form. So you can buy more chances to win. It doesn't cost anything to enter once, but if you subscribe for, say, $4 or $10 or whatever it might be, you get extra entry forms, so greater chances to win. We're going to do that for the entire month of November. So start now if you'd like. One entry form. No. Yeah, I guess one entry form per month. So just all you have to do is do it once or subscribe once, and your name goes into the hat automatically. So thanks very much to our Secret Santa for doing that. It is this Saturday, 3 days. It is Halloween.
Saturday.
Now, you're British. You don't have, or you didn't have Halloween when you were a kid, did you?
No, we didn't do it. Not this trick-or-treat. Not really.
Was there any kind of spooky kind of celebrations that you guys had?
No.
No? There was nothing like that? I know it's starting to seep into...
Yeah, it's more now, I think.
Yeah, the Americanization of culture is seeping in. But when you moved to Canada, did you become a trick-or-treater?
Yeah, I did it because I had young kids. Mm-hmm. So we did the trick-or-treating, dressing up and going door to door. And
it's always funny. Exactly. Well, yeah, and you were here in Vancouver freezing your what's-its off. Mm-hmm. I'm back home as a kid in Nova Scotia, really freezing my what's-it off. I mean, it was below zero many, many times. The old joke for Canada is that any Halloween costume you had to fit over your snowsuit. Yeah, it's because you weren't walking around in shirts and T-shirts. There was snow on the ground. It was cold. We never got, we were poor as kids, so we never had a costume. Mom would go to Zellers. It's an old familiar name in Canada, and buy those little plastic masks that you couldn't see out of, and they'd sweat and freeze on you. So you chose which mask you wanted, Frankenstein or whatever it might be. And you walked, and we never had the little orange pumpkins when we were kids. It was always just pillowcases. But I thought pillowcases were better because the pillowcase, you got more stuff. The little plastic pumpkin filled up after 4 or 5 houses. The pillowcase, and the other thing was we would fill up our pillowcase, go home, dump it out on our beds, and go back out trick-or-treating to get more stuff. And then we'd come home at like 6, 7 o'clock at night. And then my brothers, my sister, and I, we all start horse trading. And you'd get like I really like Smarties. So it was like, okay, I'll trade you 3 Smarties, boxes of Smarties for one of those. Or, I got an apple. I don't want the apple. Here, you take the apple. Did you check the kids' candy when they brought it home?
Yeah. I mean, I wouldn't let them have anything that was homemade and not sealed.
Yeah. Yeah, that's a shame too. That
I know.
We did that. Parents did that, but I don't know of any. Certainly not in Halifax. I never heard any stories of poisoned apples. I always heard those. They might be urban legends about razor blades in the apple and things like that. But I don't know if there probably has been instances. It's a shame that has to happen. But it was always funny that all the kids in the neighborhood knew which houses got the good candy. Which houses gave away the full-size chocolate bars versus the mini chocolate. Whoever invented those mini chocolate bars, you're a dick, dude. You're an asshole. Because those mini chocolate bars are freaking useless, man. We like to get in the full-size store chocolate bars. Chips was, you weren't crazy about chips. And fruit was just stupid. If you put fruit in kids' bags, it was like, oh, come on now. That's not right.
I only buy the stuff I like.
Yes.
Then if nobody comes to the door, I can eat it. Exactly. So it's Cadbury's all the way.
And you had to be careful not to buy the stuff too far in advance either.
Because I'd eat it.
You'd eat it, exactly.
Right.
You can only buy Halloween candy the afternoon of. Because if you bought a week in advance, I'll forget about it. It was gone. You had to go buy more Halloween candy. There was a funny story in the CBC News today about the best Halloween candy. And when I was a kid, to this day, I still love candy corn. The 3-layered little triangle, little pyramids, and they had a yellow layer and a white layer and an orangish kind of layer. Do you ever see those?
No.
And I love because you'd eat the yellow layer first, then you eat the white layer, then you eat the other layer. Or Tootsie Rolls. Loved Tootsie Rolls,
I like Tootsie Rolls
when I was a kid because I could make them last. Because there's that kind of chocolate. You just put it in your mouth and let it sit there and slowly dissolve for like half an hour. What other chocolate did we like as kids? The story in CBC is talking about some of the things that don't show up anymore. It's undoubtedly part of the times we live in. But my mom would make fudge. She would make fudge for kids, and she'd wrap it up in little plastic, little saran wrap type things and give that out to kids. It was delicious fudge. People don't really make that homemade stuff anymore. Yeah. It's too much hassle. Parents think it's unsafe. Like you said, you checked your kids' candy for that kind of stuff. But it's a shame that that's the kind of things that because of the times we live in, we don't see anymore. Homemade things. Halloween kisses from Hershey's. We always got a lot of those. The peanut butter kisses. They often had them in different flavors. I hated the people who give you popcorn balls because the popcorn ball was just all it was caramel and popcorn, and it was just a blob. It was like a softball sized blob of stuff. And that wasn't very, very interesting. Some people give you grapes. It's like, why are you giving me grapes? I can get grapes at home.
They're soggy, squished.
And they get squished, exactly. Just reading this story about caramel apples was something that some folks gave away. Mm-hmm. I never liked caramel apples when I was a kid.
See, we used to have those on bonfire night.
What's bonfire night?
Remember the 5th of November. It's when Guy Fawkes tried to blow up the Houses of Parliament. Guy Fawkes Day. Bonfire night.
Isn't it called Guy Fawkes Day?
No.
Oh, I thought it was called Guy Fawkes Day. Oh, okay. I've heard that.
We burn him. An effigy of him on the bonfire, but no.
The other stuff. Pop. We used to get pop. We used to get soda pop when you were a kid. You get cans of pop in your. I wonder if kids. I think nowadays a lot of kids are trick or treating in. What?
Sherry says pop was the worst. It was so heavy.
Exactly.
It is because you got to carry it everywhere.
And the funny thing for me was when I was a kid, you go around. I had 3 brothers and sisters, and we'd all go around together, and. Like I said, then we go back home and trade. But then at the age of 12, when I between 10 and 12, when I hit my growth spurt, at 12, I was 6 feet tall. And we lived in the private married quarters in Dartmouth, Nova Scotia. And so it was like a bunch of apartment buildings. And so you didn't go to a strange neighborhood to trick or treat. You were in your own neighborhood. And so you'd have this mask on. I have a Frankenstein mask on, whatever it was. And you knock on the door, and there's me and my little brothers and sisters. And I got my pillowcase out. And the adult will go away, mister. I was like, I'm not a mister. I'm only 12. And people were just so mean to me. It's like, no, look, I'm only 12. People were always so mean to me because I was taller than everybody else. I started to hate trick-or-treating. But I realized at the age of between 13 and 14, when I was a bully, that I didn't have to go trick-or-treating. I could just go outside and beat up some kid and take his candy. To all you kids who I did that to when I was 13, I'm so sorry. I was a jerk. I'm so sorry. The funniest thing was I beat the kid up and take his pillowcase and go home. And like the next day, my mother was like, "Why did I get all these extra pillowcases? Why do I have 8 pillowcases that I didn't have yesterday?" Did you ever go to Halloween parties?
No.
Yeah, neither did I. I've never gone to a Halloween party like dressed up with a whole bunch of friends and gone somewhere. The only time I ever did it was in Pittsburgh with Amy and Steve Malnicki and his lovely wife Pam. The 4 of us dressed up as I was the bishop, Steve was a choir boy, Pam was a nun, and Amy, who's gorgeous, was a hot Catholic schoolgirl. So we had all these quite inappropriate memes going on. And we won 2 contests. We actually won a trip to Florida for 4. In one of these places because we went and rented the costumes. We went to a costume place and I rented the whole bishop's mitre and the whole thing. Steve had a cassock on. Pam had the whole nun's outfit, and Amy had the trampy schoolgirl look going on. But yeah, we won a couple of contests. Some people weren't very happy with us either. But it was like, and Halloween, should Halloween be for adults or kids, Kim?
Both. It doesn't matter.
Yeah,
but I think it should be scary. I don't think it should be about just dressing up. Like, I don't think you should be Top Gun or Taylor Swift. I heard someone this morning. Well, I suppose that is pretty scary to some people. But
well, isn't Halloween's become, anyway, about fantasy? About dressing up as a fantasy figure of someone you can't be. So maybe that's why people dress up as the naughty schoolgirl or Taylor Swift, as opposed to the monsters that. Because when we were kids, it was almost all monsters. Monsters are superheroes. Mm. You were Superman, you were Spider-Man, you were Frankenstein, you were Dracula. Little girls mostly were princesses of various Disney.
No, but why are you?
Flavors.
That's not fucking scary.
It's not scary. No.
Princess not scary. They should have been witches.
But that being said,
goblins.
You've said you've gone to the haunted house type thing and scared that piss out of yourself.
No.
And you like that.
I lost a tooth.
Wait, what?
I lost a tooth.
How'd you lose a tooth?
Because I was holding on to Trevor's arm and he flinched and came back and my mouth was open screaming and I came down on his elbow and just lost one of my
So your husband
teeth.
knocked a tooth out?
Yeah. At the haunted house here, Grim Reaper's house, I think, in Chilliwack.
But that's funny because you don't like horror movies.
Very scary. No, and I didn't want to go, but I forced myself
to
go with the kids, and it was awful. Awful but good, because it was so scary.
There's that thing of that balance of scary. That's why people love roller coasters.
They even have guys walking around in the parking lot of this farm that does this every year in Chilliwack, and freaking scary people. Yeah.
Some of them are just well done, and it is kind of neat to see folks as you drive around your town who've gone all out and they've got giant blow up spider. I saw one guy had a giant blow up spider on top of his roof of his house, and this thing was as big as the roof of his house.
Yeah.
And you've seen giant Frankensteins and giant pumpkins. It's kind of neat that they do that. Will you go and buy candy in case someone comes by your new apartment?
I already have. Cadbury's.
Those are not going to last till Saturday.
No, and I'm going to Norma's house, so I'll give out her candy to kids that come to her house.
Yeah, because she'll have folks. Norma is your second grandmother. Or your second
mother. She's like
mother.
my mum.
Yeah,
she's like my adopted mum.
What we call second mum.
Yeah.
And yeah, she lives in a neighborhood where there will be kids.
Yeah, there'll be lots of kids.
That's good.
Yeah.
That's good. It'll be fun. Take pictures. Take pictures of little kitties.
No, I'll be handing the stuff out, and Norma will be keeping the dogs from barking at all the kids.
No, I will be sitting here cowering because I'm not buying any candy.
No.
I'm not entering the door.
No. Well, they don't come to apartments, do they?
Yes, they do. Apartments were the best because they were the most efficient way of getting the most amount of candy.
Oh. Yeah, just ignore the door.
You need to go outside. You need to go get cold. You stay in the building. You walk back and forth. But yeah, I won't be answering my door. Do you have any favorite Halloween treats, kids? Any Halloween tricks? I never played tricks very much for Halloween. Send us emails to onair@yourmaclifeshow.com. Later on the show, we're going to be talking about buying used camera lenses, whether you should and where you can buy them. We're also going to talk about Apple earnings with our good friend Jim Dalrymple from Loop at loopinsight.com. We'll do that, all that and much, much more coming up. This is Your Mac Life. Welcome back, folks. This is Your Mac Life. I am Shawn King, joined on our phone now by our good friend Jim Dalrymple from the Loop at loopinsight.com. Jim, how you doing?
I'm doing good. How are you?
I am good. Thanks very much for joining us. Let me know if I got a new studio set up, so let me know if the audio is okay for you. Can you hear me okay?
Yeah, works great.
Good. All right. Apple announced again record earnings, record profits, record sales of iPhones, and yet still people complain that they don't know if it's sustainable. Are these people fools, or do they know something we don't?
I'm just so tired of listening to people. They keep blathering on about sustainability, and then Apple breaks another record, and they blather on about sustainability. It's just, at this point, what we all know is that Apple has to put out products that people want to buy.
Yep.
And if they don't do that, then they're not going to sell. And the first quarter that Apple doesn't sell a record number of iPhones,
yep,
everybody's going to say, "Told you, I told you, I knew this was coming, I told you," and you know, just shut up.
Yeah, it's really frustrating too that for those of us who follow the company from a different perspective, we see the sales, we see the popularity, we see the people who love their Macintoshes and love their iPhones, even love their iPads, and we don't understand why Wall Street doesn't feel the same way. And that's fine. I understand that. But for Wall Street to say, the most idiotic line in a New York Times story I saw was that Apple has another record quarter. Can they sustain the growth? Well, they have for the past 5 years, you morons. What makes you think they won't? More. What makes you think they won't sustain it for the future? Past is prologue. There's no evidence that you can show to make you think that Apple's going to have a bad quarter next quarter. Once they do, go ahead and slam them. But until they do, shut the hell up.
Well, and how can you – I've said it before, and I'll say it again. When a company reports profits in the billions – just shut up.
Yeah, that's right.
I don't care how many products they sold. I don't care what they did. I don't care anything. If their bottom line says that they made $11 billion in profit in 90 days, shut the hell up. Because you're an analyst and, you know, you make shit money compared to what Apple does.
Rob Griffith on Twitter said at $53.4 billion, Apple's net profit this year is only 20% lower than its 2010 revenue. In other words, they made more profit this year than they made revenue 5 years ago. That's just mind-boggling.
Well, clearly they're screwed.
So Apple is doomed. Apple is on the way down. Sell, sell, sell.
Yeah, I mean, it's just so pathetic.
Adam Satariano from Bloomberg News says Apple's iPhone business is bigger than Microsoft and Facebook combined. Let me say that again. Apple's iPhone business is bigger than Microsoft. Now, a lot of us have been around since the early and mid-'90s. If you went back in a time machine to 1996, 1995, and told someone that at any point in the future Apple was going to be bigger than Microsoft, they would have put you in an insane asylum.
Oh, yeah.
Let alone...
But you know what? If I went back to 96, I would scrape together every penny I could and buy Apple stock and then just sit and wait for 2015.
Dude, I remember when it was down that low and I was begging people. It was $12 a share. At one point it was as low as $7 a share. But at $12 a share, I was begging people, please lend me some money so I can buy this Apple stock. Because it was guaranteed to go up. And it has, if you were lucky enough, and I know my friend Hiker in the IRC chat room was smart enough, and obviously had the disposable income enough to be able to do that. He bought low, and I think he just said he's buying a new house from his Apple stock because he held on to it through all this time. Yeah, I wish we could get together as a media group, as the Mac media, as the tech media, and just ignore Wall Street. Just because what they're saying makes no sense in the real world. It literally just completely befuddles me how their logic works, where they can say, oh, Apple's going to have a weak Christmas quarter. They keep selling billions and billions of dollars worth of stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. And, you know, analysts that, supposedly get paid to be smart feel that they have to be contrarian at every corner, when in fact all they could do is just throw their hands up and say, I don't know what else to say. They're great.
Right.
You know?
That's right. What do you want from me? You know,
I'm going to sound stupid no matter what I say. So,
and you know what? The other thing is too, and I've said this 1,000 times, because they don't get punished by their employers, by their clients, by the media, no one calls them out on their consistent bullshit. They can keep doing it. They keep getting allowed to do it. If you're doing a bad thing, but no one tells you it's a bad thing, then you'll keep doing the bad thing.
Yeah.
Let's move.
And, you know, they're not called out. And the fact is that they have a tremendous amount of weight on Apple stock.
Yeah.
And it shouldn't be. I mean, I think that Apple should have a tremendous amount of weight on their salaries. because I haven't run into one financial analyst that I thought was the least bit intelligent.
Yeah. Yeah, I absolutely agree. It's so frustrating that they get so much media play, and again the media is complicit in this because the media doesn't say, "Hey, wait a minute! 6 months ago you said the same thing. You said sell Apple." I mean, there are people out there who have told their clients to sell Apple stock, and it's cost their clients money, not just a couple few bucks. It's cost them millions of dollars because some analyst a year ago said, "Oh no, Apple's going in the dumper. You should sell it now," and the stock goes up. And their clients have lost X numbers of millions of dollars. Why doesn't that guy get fired?
Well, not only does it go up, it splits 7 times.
Yep.
You know, that's good. That's what's supposed to happen.
Yep,
you know?
Exactly. Let's move on. My friend Ian Betteridge wrote a bad column on Alford.com, how Steve Jobs introduced the iPod and saved the world. 14 years ago this past week, Steve Jobs showed us first the original iPod. You were in the audience there. I was watching it on the video live blog. Do you think the iPod saved Apple 14 years ago?
Absolutely.
Really?
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely.
See, I would go back even further. My argument has always been that the iMac saved Apple because without
the iMac gave Apple a little bit of respite.
Yeah,
that's what the iMac did. Apple was going bankrupt.
Yes,
and if it wasn't for the iMac, they would have been dead in the water. No more money. It's over.
Yep.
The iMac gave them enough financial revenue to keep the company going. Mm-hmm. But it's the iPod that changed everything. The iPod was the starting point of the music store, of the videos, of future iPods, iPhone, iPad, watch. It's the iPod that started all of that. It's the iPod that started Apple as a consumer electronics company as opposed to a Mac company that made a pretty iMac.
Yes.
You know, Apple went on to revolutionize laptops and the way that those are being used. You know, there's so many different things that Apple has done since then. But the iMac was a stopgap measure. If you look at the iMac and say, would Apple be where it is today if it was just the iMac? Not a chance in hell.
Yeah, I agree. I certainly agree with that point of view, but I disagree with the idea that the iPod saved Apple. I believe the iMac did. The iMac was the foundation that allowed Apple to build towards that. In other words, if it hadn't been for the iMac, there never would have been an iPod. That's what I define as saving the company. Without that foundation of the iMac, as someone in the IRC chat room said, MacMan said the iPod refilled their money bin. I agree with him on that. But the iMac was the foundation of that. Without the iMac, the company wouldn't have gotten far enough to save themselves with the iPod.
I think that the iMac refilled the money bin. It was the iMac that did that. Mm-hmm. It refilled the money bin. The iPod added another 20 money bins.
Yeah,
all full.
Yep.
You know, but the iMac was the one that refilled that money bin. It really allowed them to continue on. And people, I don't know if everybody realizes how close Apple was to bankruptcy.
Oh yeah,
they were a few months away.
Yep, 90 days according to Steve Jobs.
Yeah, and they were done.
Yep. And
he took everything that the company had and put it into the iMac, and it worked. You know, and if it wasn't for that, if that hadn't have worked, and we were looking back now and saying, remember that company Apple? Yeah, that Steve Jobs guy, he was smart once, but then he screwed up and put all the money in there, and it just didn't work. So there's a business lesson for you, people.
Yeah, no kidding.
Don't follow what Steve Jobs says.
Speaking of Steve Jobs, apparently the Steve Jobs movie, the Michael Fassbender movie, has flopped at the box office. Does that surprise you?
No, not really. I mean, well, I don't know. I think people, for the most part, know, what what Aaron Sorkin did, and it just, a lot of it just didn't make any sense.
Mm-hmm.
So I don't know.
I think it was a matter of that the vast majority of people who are moviegoers, especially the core group of 18 to, I guess, 39-year-old males, don't care. This was not a story that had any relevance or interest to them. You watch the TV commercials. If you don't know anything about Apple and you watch the TV commercials, it doesn't seem like a very compelling story. It's this guy and the issues he has with his daughter. Yeah, you know what? Don't care. If I'm an 18 to 39-year-old male, I want to see things blow up. I want to see cleavage. I want to see explosions. That movie wasn't going to have it. Apparently, Michael Fassbender's his acting is very good. I think only us nerdy, geeky insiders understand how Sorkin manipulated the truth and changed those things around. But you know what? I honestly believe that if the movie had been completely faithful to the events of Jobs' life, I think it still would have flopped. I don't think the market needs or wants to see this movie.
Well, I know that Abby Tavanian said that, the movie wasn't accurate.
Yeah.
And other people that I know that were around Jobs at the time said the movie just isn't accurate.
Yeah.
So I think that hurts. And it hurts Aaron Sorkin and the movie people, because I think what people were looking for was a true portrayal of Steve. And, there's going to be people that aren't going to like a portrayal of Steve.
Sure.
They're just, because he wasn't always the nicest guy in the world.
Yeah.
He didn't dress up in a clown costume on the weekends and entertain local kids or anything, But then again, the last guy that did that was a mass murderer. So, yeah.
Wow. Reaching back for that one, weren't you?
I did.
Did you pull a muscle there, man? Because you had to go way back for that one.
that was a damn good one. I like that. I'm going to use that one again.
Oh, you go right ahead. You posted on Twitter something I thought was kind of interesting and very short, sweet. I'm excited for the new iPhone, for the new Apple TV. Why?
I am. Because I think that it has the potential to really change things.
So are you saying you're excited for yourself personally? It'd be a fun geek toy gadget, or you think it's exciting for Apple, the company?
Both.
Really?
Both. Yeah. This is we're not talking iPod level stuff here.
Sure.
That gonna propel Apple to the next thing, but it has the potential to propel Apple to the next thing. We could look back in a decade and say, you remember that Apple TV? That's the one that started where we are now. I believe that it has that potential.
I think the Apple TV is very similar. One of the things you always have to remember when you talk about Apple is the things they're doing now aren't for now. They're for 2 years, 18 months, 3 years down the road. Look to where you think the Apple TV is going to be. Now, I'm not saying that my crystal ball can see 5 years down the road. I think the Apple TV is interesting. I don't know if it's going to be the level that you think it's going to be. If only because what's the focus of the Apple TV? If the focus of the Apple TV is as a console gamer type thing for casual games, I think it'll be moderately successful. If it is, go ahead.
Don't misunderstand what I'm saying here. I'm looking. If you look back now, 20 years later, and say the iMac was the one that started all of this,
yeah.
Then I'm saying in 20 years we could look back and say that Apple TV, that was really the start of this. And people will argue the point of whether it was or it wasn't, whatever. But I'm saying that this has that kind of potential. It's not there yet.
The potential to do what, though?
The potential to be the start of what's coming.
And what's that?
We don't know what that. Well, we don't know that. If you had asked me what's coming when the iPod came out, and I had told you about this iPhone, you would have thought it was nuts.
Yeah.
So we don't know what the next thing is. But I'm saying that this has the potential to be the start, the foundation of that. like the iMac you're saying was the foundation of where we are now.
I think if the future of the Apple TV is just casual gaming, not so much. If the future of Apple TV is to take on television distribution, I think, yes, then I'll definitely agree with you. I think it has the potential to do that. It's not going to do it in the next 2 years because Apple's still got all these deals and all this kind of stuff to deal with. But I think if that's where Apple's going with it, then I would agree with you.
Well, I think that's where it is going. I think that's what they're going to try and do.
The downside is until Apple goes back to the days of the Apple TV having its own hard drive, it can't operate as a DVR. I think that's another aspect of where TV's going in the future. Not right now, only about 25% of us have a DVR. I think that percentage is going to increase. And if the Apple TV doesn't act as a DVR, it's not a lot of use to a lot of folks.
But you're looking at it again from the technology that we have today, not the technology that we could have in 3 years. Sure. I mean, what's saying that DVR technology, Apple isn't going to make it so that you can record 4K TV in the cloud.
Yeah.
You know, and so you don't need a hard drive anymore. That would be silly. Why would you need a hard drive? Because it's all in the cloud. You can record. You know, right there. We just don't know. We don't know what's going to happen in 2 or 3 or 5 years, or even 1 year for that matter. I mean, you know, we don't know. But I'm saying that this could be it. This could be one of the things that we look at and say, wow, yeah.
Yeah, I'm really interested to see where Apple's going to go with this. I'll be the first one to admit that I don't have enough of imagination to be able to point definitively to something and say, yes, this is where they're obviously going to go. I'm certainly with you on that. I think I'm guessing where I would like to see it go and where I would see value in it. Right now, I'm not getting an Apple TV. I use my Apple TV now primarily as a conduit for content that's already on my Macintosh to push to my large screen TV. So I'm not exactly the target market for the Apple TV anyway. I don't rent from the Apple TV. I don't listen to music on the Apple TV. I don't use the Apple TV the way Apple wants people to use it. So I'm sort of sitting back and waiting to see where Apple's going to go with it.
Well, you know, I think it's going to be very interesting. And even the changes that they made with Siri and, you know, all the other stuff that's going on, I think it's pretty compelling.
Speaking of where things are, this happens about once every 3 or 4 months. We get these stories, and sadly, they seem to often be coming from the New York Times. New York Times yesterday ran an article entitled "The Mysterious Case of Apple and the Elusive Angela Arendt." It seems like the media is caught up on why they can't see her in public on a more regular basis. And I understand part of the point of view is that she's a very high-profile woman inside of Apple. So why isn't she out doing the interviews that Phil Schiller does, or doing the interviews that other people do, running conferences or co-chairing conferences like Johnny Ive is doing? Do you have a concern that Apple isn't using Angela Arendt enough as a public figure?
No, I could care less.
You don't think that she and Apple have an opportunity to push the conversation forward by having this strong female figure front and center of the company?
Could care less. What I think Apple needs to push forward is the fact that they're a successful company, and you know they have all of these great products, and they do have a diverse workforce. I mean, I don't think that anybody would be happy if Apple came out and there was an Indian guy working at Apple, and all of a sudden he was front and center because, hey, he's Indian, and look at us, we're Apple, and we're great because we hired an Indian guy.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, who cares? I don't care. Angela's doing a great job with retail. You know, it's moving along again like it hadn't before.
Yeah.
That's a great thing. Is that all happening because she's a woman? No, it happens because she's a talented person.
Yeah, agreed.
And that's what matters. She's a talented person. Ron Johnson, who did retail with Steve, was also a very talented person. Was that because he was a man? No, it's because he was a talented person. So I know that there's going to be those people out there that are, going to want to slam me and say, oh, I don't care. That's my opinion. I don't care. All I care about is that they are talented people.
And to a certain degree, I agree with you. I think part of it is, and I love the follow-up that Dave Mark did on The Loop. He said that he received this direct response to a quote from an Apple retail employee who said, I don't remember the last time I saw a photo of Tim Cook on any internal communications, but Angela, we start every week with her latest video. Hell, we see her so often that after she got her hair done a few weeks ago, employees noticed. She is doing something at Apple. As MacMan in the IRC chat room said, maybe we don't see her because she's doing her job inside of Apple. I think the problem is...
Exactly. See, that's the best way to put it right there.
Exactly. I think the problem is...
we don't see her because she's doing her damn job.
The media...
The same with Phil. The same with Tim.
I think it's because the media expected her, because she used to be the CEO of Burberry and she was out front as the CEO of Burberry, they expected her to be the same kind of person at Apple. But for whatever reason, her choice, Apple's choice, Cook's choice, whatever it might be, has that she's going to do her job in a different way. And the media is so myopic, they think, oh my God, if I don't see her in my newspaper every single day, therefore she's not doing anything. She's just sitting around collecting her millions of dollars without actually investigating the story and talking to Apple employees. Because I've heard the same thing that Dave heard from Apple employees, that they see her on a regular basis. She just tweeted this afternoon that she's in Dubai at another Apple store opening. So it's not like she's invisible media. Just open your fucking eyes and look for her.
Yes, and that's, I mean, people are so damn pathetic. I'm getting frustrated more by the day of how pathetic people are. Financial analysts, reporters, just shut up already.
I would like to find some way to only allow the ones who know what they're talking about to talk. That's the key for me. There should be some sort of test that says that only if you know what the hell you're talking about can you write on the internet, because there's so much misinformation out there. And the problem is the average person doesn't know this is misinformation. They don't know that Chris over at CNET's a fucking moron. They don't know the New York Times has published 10 hit pieces on Apple over the last 6 months. They don't know that this group has a grudge against Apple. So they take this information and they go, oh, well, this must be true because I read it on the internet.
Yep. I don't disagree with you.
Speaking of things that must be true, I saw a bunch of posts from you and other folks last week for the Release Notes Conference. Now, I have no idea what the Release Notes Conference is or why the hell you were there. Explain.
Well, they invited me to speak. It's Charles Perry and Joe Soplitsky, and great guys, and they put on a tremendously good conference, especially for a first-run conference. Just did such a great job. And I was there and had a great time. I met a lot of people, and it wasn't the typical developer people. There were a lot of developers there, but there were a lot of business people there too. And that's how they portrayed this conference, that it was going to be, and how to build a business and how to do the right things around business. It wasn't just design and coding and things like that. So
I'm looking at the speakers list. ReleaseNotes.tv is the website. And I'm kind of offended that it was just all the speakers were a bunch of white folks.
Yeah, see,
you need some people. Don't you think you need some people of color in this?
I'm gonna go grab whatever the Indian guy is that's working for Apple. Bring him next time. And I'll let him stand. I'll let him stand up on stage while I'm speaking.
It was in Indianapolis, Indiana, wasn't it? It was probably your first time there, wasn't it?
It was my first time in Indianapolis. I bet. And it's such a great city. I love the city.
Did you get a chance to go to the Speedway at all?
I didn't.
That's too bad.
No.
That's the kind of place. That's the kind of place you want to go as a shrine to motor racing. Just go walk around the outside of it. The thing is massive. You would not believe how big that place is. If you go again and the conference is there, you should at least take a chance to walk around it because it is a really neat place to be.
Yeah, I'd love that.
Folks, been talking to Jim Dalrymple from The Loop at loopinsight.com. He's here each and every week. He has his own 2 podcasts, Amplified and The Dalrymple Report, both available on the iTunes store. Jim, thanks very much for joining me, buddy. Appreciate it.
Thanks, Shawn.
Have a good night. See ya.
Bye.
Thanks very much to Jim for doing that, as always. Dalrymple Report and Amplified are the shows you can go check Jim on the iTunes store. Just do a search for those. You may have heard about this lawsuit. Apple's being sued. Oh, my God. But then again, when isn't Apple being sued? I don't think they should be sued over this, but it's something you should be careful of. And it's something I mentioned when I first heard about it. I thought, ooh, this is going to be bad. And it kind of might be. Apple's being sued over this thing called Wi-Fi Assist. And what it is when you have it turned on your laptop, or sorry, on your iPhone, and you're making a phone call, if the Wi-Fi, and it's a Wi-Fi, if you're using not a phone call, if you're using your phone, your iPhone, in a Wi-Fi network, and the Wi-Fi drops or isn't very good quality, Wi-Fi Assist will flip over to cellular data for you. In theory, they'll do it in a seamless kind of way, and you won't even notice it's happening. You're checking email, or you're surfing a website, or whatever it might be. That's great. In theory. The problem is, for so many of us who no longer have unlimited data plans, if this happens and you don't notice it, say, for example, you are in Starbucks, and the Starbucks Wi-Fi, you sign onto it, and you notice, oh, there's a new update to Facebook or an update to this app that I like. And you click, I'll update the app. And it's a 0.5 gigabyte file. So it starts downloading. If in the middle of the download, Starbucks Wi-Fi goes down, in theory, what happens is your phone switches to cellular. Now, it doesn't give you any indication that it's doing that. As I've said in the past, that's part of the problem. There's no little window that pops up that says, oh, we'd like to switch over to cellular communication in order to finish this thing or do this thing. It just happens. And very few of us look at our screen and look in the upper left-hand corner to see if we see 3G or LTE or bars up there. We just go about our business. There's been all kinds of times when I'm riding the motorcycle and I will turn off Wi-Fi because if I'm using directions on my phone, it keeps searching for Wi-Fi networks. Well, if I'm on the bike, I can't keep clicking cancel to turn off the searching for the Wi-Fi. So I'll turn Wi-Fi off and just do cellular data for my directions. But then I'll get home, I'll sit on the couch, I'll turn TV on, and I'll start doing computer stuff on the iPhone. And it's only after X period of time that I realize, oh shit, I've still got Wi-Fi turned off. So I'm using up cellular data. There's another story out there too, how apparently behind the scenes, this whole Wi-Fi thing is just a complete mess inside of Apple. That's neither here nor there. If you have limited cellular, like, again, many of us do. I think, Kim, you have a 1 gigabyte plan or 2 gigabyte. Yeah, you don't even know. And then that's fine. For the average person, you don't know. The other thing the average person doesn't know is what it costs them when you go over that. And it's so easy to go over it. Nowadays, you can go to a website, and that website might be a 10 megabyte website. Well, you go to that website 10 times, there's your gigabyte. No, 100 times in a month, or 100 websites like it in a month, and you're over your data limit. So what you want to do is unless you've got unlimited cellular, unless you want to use this, unless you're not worried about this kind of stuff, turn off Wi-Fi Assist. It's easy to do. What you do is go to the settings on your phone, and where's your phone? Check to see if you have this turned on or turned off. So you haven't turned your microphone on, though.
Oh,
yeah. No. There we go. I did. Yes, I did. Why is it all echoey all of a sudden? Okay, there we go. So go to settings on your phone.
Yep. Cellular.
And then go down to mobile data. No, wait. Is it cellular? Yeah, cellular.
Mm-hmm.
And then down at the very, very bottom, all the way to the bottom,
It says use cellular data for, and it'll list all your things, and then you can switch them on or off.
That's something we'll talk about a little later on too. But right now, scroll all the way to the bottom.
Okay. Yeah.
And see where it says Wi-Fi assist?
Yeah.
Automatically use cellular data when Wi-Fi connectivity is poor. Turn that off.
I did. So I'm good.
That way, what will happen is DJ McIntosh says, oh, you covered that a few weeks ago. Yep. That MacMan, I agree, that it's enabled by default is stupid. That's the other issue, too. That it's on automatically, and it doesn't tell you when it's doing it. Two things that Apple should not have done. Should not have turned it on by default, and should not give you any indication that it's done that. A little screen that pops up and goes, hey, you're using cellular data right now. Would you like to continue? Oh, hell no. Cancel. MacMan still has an unlimited data plan. DJ McIntosh, Wi-Fi Assist doesn't always show in the status bar as trying to connect to Wi-Fi if Wi-Fi Assist is on, and will still show the Wi-Fi icon. That's even more useless, DJ. That makes you think you're using Wi-Fi when you're using cellular. Monty says, I have a calendar item for the first of every month to reset my usage. I keep track of it just for my own curiosity. That's a good idea and very nerdy of you. In a good way. That's not a bad thing. So one of the things I wanted to mention to Kim about, because one of the things that we're always concerned about is battery life, about doing those things that drain or don't drain your battery. And as Kim just saw, as you went to your settings, and go ahead and do that again, and go to settings, cellular settings, and where it says use cellular data for.
Yeah.
All of these apps want to use your cell data. And again, if you're on a limited plan, some of these apps, you don't want using them. You don't want using cellular. So, for example, I've got this backgammon game. Why are you using cellular data? No, don't do that. I turn that off. My banking app, I do want it to use cellular data. I leave that on. The camera app, no, don't use cellular data. So I go through this list and turn off all those things that you don't want using cellular data, because that will help with your data plan. It will use, obviously, less data behind the scenes.
Okay, I have a question.
Yes.
Just looking through here, why would my photos need to use cellular? Because
what Photos is doing, it might be doing things in the background like iCloud. What your phone can do is it will. You don't have an iPad, so you don't know this. But when I take a picture on my iPhone, it shows up on my iPad. Because it automatically sends it over to the iPad so I can have it on both devices. Now, if my iPad was cellular, it would do that over cellular. So there's no reason for you to do that.
Turn that one off.
So you turn it off.
Yeah.
If you look at it and you go, why? Turn it off. That's the easiest way to figure that out. You don't even have to ask questions. Why are you doing that? Google Maps? Yes, because I use Google Maps for directions. I'll leave that on. What other ones? iBooks. No, iBooks, you don't need to use cellular data. So I turn that off. So go through all these there. A new one. And the other thing is, too, check this every now and then, because I downloaded the new Lightroom app, and now I see Lightroom is using cellular data. Uncheck. Maps. Yes. My Meetup stuff. Yes, I want that. Music. No, don't use cellular data. Music Match. No. My Radar, a weather app. Yes, I want to be able to do that. Notes, no. There's a whole bunches and bunches of them here. You turn off. DJ McIntosh says, oh, the Facebook app still uses up battery and resources in the background. Yeah, the Facebook app is a piece of shit. The other thing is now, to save on battery life, is limit location services. So again, go to settings. And then scroll down. Where is it? Is it in general? Where's location services? Where are location services?
I don't know.
Yeah, me neither. I thought it was right there on the front page before.
What do you mean by location
It
services?
actually says limit location services. Privacy, that's where it is. Jeez, Apple. Be too hard to put it in location services. No, that would make too much sense.
So I've got location services. It says on mine.
Yes, and what that is for some apps, you do want location services. Your directions app, you want the thing to know where you are. So you go through this, and you can see. So, for example, the very first one I've got is this app called Analog Film. No, why are you using? Because what happens when you use location services is that your phone or that app in the background will occasionally just ping a satellite tower or ping Wi-Fi. And that ping uses up battery life. So you want to turn off all those things that are pinging these towers and these Wi-Fi base stations for no good reason. Now, I understand why Analog Film does it. Analog Film does it for GPS location. But I don't want it to do GPS on my pictures. I know where my pictures were taken, so I don't need to have that turned on. So what I'll often do is go and click on the app. And some apps will say, allow location services never, in background, or while using the app. So now you get to choose when you want this app to use location services. A lot of them you can probably say never to. I don't want the Average Camera Pro to ever use my location services. I do want my Major League at Bat to know my location services. Calendar, I can choose never or while using the app. While using the app is fine. I like the apps that allow you to do it while you're using the app. The ones you really want to turn off are the ones that say in the background. Because what that means is the app is checking location services while it's just sort of sitting there, as opposed to when you're actually using the app. So go through those and turn off, and it's it's kind of tedious to go through each and every one of these. So, for example, the app I like for journaling called Heyday. Heyday has got location services, allow location access never, while using the app, or always. So I just chose while using the app. That's the only time I want this app to go running out to cell phone towers to find out where I am. So just go through all of them. And by doing that, you'll start limiting the amount of battery life these things will suck up. The other thing I tell folks to do, too, is unless you need what's called push mail, unless you need to have, for example, you've got a business email address and you need to know when someone sends you an email. Push email means, it's actually kind of pull email, but it means that your email server is pushing the email towards you whenever it gets an email. So the email comes into the server. It goes, oh, Kim's got a new email. I'll send it to her right now. So what that means is your mail app on your phone is constantly looking for new mail. It's constantly going, do I have any? Do I have any? Do I have any? It doesn't need to do that. What you want to do is, if you want to limit the battery usage, is I've got it set up on my phone that when I click on the mail app and click and pull down, it'll check for mail then. It doesn't check it automatically all the time. So my phone never goes, beep, you have new mail. My phone never does that. So it means I'm using less battery because my phone's not constantly running out and looking for mail. So if you have business mail, or you need to know when you get a particular piece of mail the second it happens, then you can leave that turned on. The other thing is background app refresh. I think I've got this turned off for everything. I don't want any apps to update in the background when I don't know they're upgrading. A lot of apps will do things that piss me off. A perfect example is a game I loved playing called Threes. And Threes is a mindless, simple little game that you just move tiles around. There's nothing special about it. But in a new version, it was a buggy new version. And I didn't want to update the buggy new version. But if I'd had background apps turned on, it would have automatically updated to that buggy new version. So I've gone into Settings, General, and play along with me, kids.
I am.
Settings, General, tap on Background App Refresh. It's there, the screen down.
Oh, yeah.
And choose which apps you want to have do background app refresh.
And why would I want them to do this refresh?
Well, it depends on the kind of person you are. Whether or not you don't want to worry about apps updating in the background. You don't care. Mm-hmm. You'll take any new app automatically. But that uses up a certain percentage of battery for it to do that. And you got to figure out whether or not you want to make it worth your while.
So they'll all still work.
Yes.
It just means I'm not asking them to refresh whenever or look for updates and refresh as and when.
Exactly. I only ever update my apps.
I could switch them all off.
You could turn off background app refresh entirely. Just click that button at the top where it says background app refresh. Turn them all off.
Wait, that's what I've done.
Boom, done. Simple and easy. There's a bunch of things. The most important thing, though, for everyone, to save the most amount of battery. This is saving small percentages of it. To save the most amount of battery life, the thing that uses up the most amount of your battery is your screen. Your screen uses up 75 to 80%.
My kids taught me that.
Yes, exactly.
Switch your screen off, Mum.
And you don't. I was constantly reaching over and turning off your screen. But the other thing is now in iOS 9.1, Apple got this very clever thing. You know how when you're talking on the phone and you put up your face, the screen goes dark? Did you know that?
Yes.
It's one of the things that annoys me about TV shows. When TV shows, people are using iPhones and they do a phone call on the TV show and they put the phone up to their face and it doesn't turn off. It's like, you didn't really make a phone call. But Apple's but added to that. So now when you put your phone face down, the screen turns off under iOS 9.1, which is very clever. Something you should have been doing from the beginning. But so turn your screen off whenever you can. The other thing is turn the brightness of your screen down. A lot of folks will have brightness turned on automatically on their phone, on their phone display.
Yeah, I have mine bright. I need to be able to see.
Yes, and that's the thing. I've got auto brightness turned off, and I choose how bright I want my screen. It's easy to do, and yes, you're right. For the most part, you'll quite often want it as bright as you can because as we get older, the screens aren't as clear. But for me right now, that's more bright than I actually need it to be. So I can turn it down until it's at a level where I'm comfortable to see it. And then if you want to, you turn it back up for reading or things like that. But for the most part, keeping your screen brightness down as low as you can possibly stand it will be the one thing that'll increase your battery life. The other thing is stop using Facebook. Facebook is a background pig on the iPhone. Facebook has completely screwed up their app. DJ McIntosh says, I have limited location and background series to only when the Facebook app is in use. And it still uses more background resources than actually looking at the screen time. Yeah, the Facebook app, and Facebook has kind of admitted this, is a piece of crap when it comes to that kind of stuff, when it comes to those background resources. For me, I try to avoid using it whenever possible. I use the Facebook.com website for the most part. And if I do use the Facebook app, I'll generally kill it when I'm finished using it. I'll flick up from the bottom of the screen or double tap in the home screen and then kill the Facebook app to try to get it to use as little as possible. So that's it. There's all kinds of other battery tips all over the web. I think Dave Mark in the Loop posted a website about him, so go check out those battery tips. In our Starting Point Photography segment, brought to you by the nice folks at Starting Point Photography. Wait, that's me. Oh, yeah. I taught a class this past weekend for tips and tricks for beginning photographers. And a couple of ladies there had nice older, one had an older Canon Rebel and one had an older Olympus, I want to say 620. I'm not exactly sure of the number. And both of them had the kit lens on, the 1855 kit lens. And don't let anyone lie to you. Until you know how to use the camera well, the kit lens is going to be fine. You don't need to go to Best Buy, London Drugs, and buy a 300 millimeter lens or 11 to 14 lens. It's completely useless to you until you know what kind of photographer you are, until you know what you like to shoot. You might be a nature photographer and like to shoot wide, expansive blue skies and mountains. Well, 300 millimeter lens isn't going to do you any good. You might be a person who likes to shoot up close, like to zoom in. Well, 11 to 14 lens isn't going to do you any good. So wait until you know how to shoot pictures well, Wait until you know your camera well before you start going around buying new lenses. With one caveat, if you want to have the fun of buying a new lens, I recommend to everybody, beginner, to get what's called the Nifty 50. It's a 50 millimeter lens. Canon sells them for $120. Nikon sells it for $150. I know they're available for Pentax. Every manufacturer has a 50 millimeter lens. And they're cheap plastic lenses. They're not high quality lenses. If you drop them, they will break. But it's a 50 millimeter lens that's generally as MacMan points out, generally an f1.8. So it's what that means is the hole in the lens opens up really, really wide, which makes it great for shots where there's not as much light as you might expect. Early in the morning, late in the evening, candlelight, street light. It's a real fun lens to get, but don't buy any others. But when you do want to buy a new lens, lenses are generally, and this is a big generalization, but generally, the more expensive a lens is, the higher the quality the lens is. Nikon makes a 50 millimeter f1.8 that's $150. Nikon makes a 50 millimeter f1.4 that's $1,000. And the difference is build quality. It's the exact same millimeter lens for the most part. It just, the $1,000 one is a steel lens. It's got better quality glass in it, uses less plastic, it's heavier, it's solid. It's more expensive and generally, therefore, better. But not everyone can afford these kind of lenses. So what I've always told folks is go find out where your local camera store is. Every camera store in the world has got a used camera and lens section. Go there, see what they got. You might find a good deal. You might find that one perfect lens that you didn't think you could afford. I go to camera shops all the time looking for the Nikon 2470 f2.8. It's a $2,000 lens. And I'm hoping beyond hope that at some point I find it by accident for like $200. You know, someone put the wrong price tag on it, and I'll buy it used. The downside of used is it's used, and you don't know how it's been used. You don't know whether it was treated nicely. You don't know whether or not it's a good lens. So if you go shopping for used lenses, bring the camera you're going to shoot with. And every store worth their salt will allow you to shoot a few pictures with that lens. Check out the inside of the lens. Make sure it's clean. A good camera shop will have cleaned the lens. Look for scratches on the lens. Look for any sort of bumps or nicks or scratches. Shoot off a bunch of frames on your own camera and see if, and then look at the back and zoom in and see if you can see any blotches or splotches or dirt on the lens. The downside of camera stores is they won't be as cheap as my next favorite, secondhand shops. Secondhand shops often don't know what a lens is worth. So you could get a $2,000 lens for $200 at a secondhand store because the secondhand guy might not know anything about cameras. You might get lucky. That's the place you'll find a lot of older film cameras if you wanted to practice or play around with film, and you'll find a lot of older bodies and older lenses. Thirdly is pawn shops. And pawn shops is where you'll get the best deal, but they're a lot less likely to be good quality lenses. So you really got to know your stuff. You really got to be careful and only buy something when it's a really, really good deal at a pawn shop, because generally you can't do returns in pawn shops. There's no warranties on a pawn shop. The other thing is too is your local camera club. If you're involved in your local camera club, most camera clubs once a year will have a swap meet. And what they'll do is they'll meet in a town hall or a church basement, whatever it will be, and all the old camera guys will have all these lenses and camera bodies just for sale. And maybe you can get a good deal there. The downside of used is the downside of used everything. It's been used. You don't have as much life in it as you do a brand new lens. Depending on where you buy it from, you don't have a warranty either. If you buy a lens from Nikon, a new lens from Nikon and Canon and those kind of guys, then you're going to get a warranty. Monty has a great point here. Is take an LED flashlight with you so you can get a good look at the front and back of the lens, no matter what the lighting in the store might be. That's a great tip, Monty. And MacMan says check for mold. That's a good thing you do with the light. Look for dirt or green spots in there. MacMan also says buy from a reliable source like B&H, Adorama here in Vancouver, Kitsilano Carisdale Camera. Yeah, the more reputable the store, the higher the price, but the more reputable. Don't shy away from used lenses. Don't be scared of used lenses. But like I said, make sure you've got enough experience to know how to buy a used lens. And don't be afraid to haggle either. You don't have to buy the lens. If you go into a store and the lens you want is there, it's $500, offer them $400. Offer them $350. If they say no, walk away. It's like haggling for anything else. Have a price in mind that you want to buy. Like I said, for me, it's $2,000 or $200. If I see a 24-70 for $200, I'm buying it right then and there because it's a 10% or 90% discount. Monty says, I need to use my 50mm lens more. It really comes out of the bag. That's something that we've talked about in the class too, is Monty, the way you do that is go out shooting and only bring the 50. Force yourself to shoot with the 50. I often do that where I will just take one lens with me because I'm on the motorcycle. I don't have room for a big camera bag and all my lenses. So I'll tend to just put one lens in the camera and then go shooting and force myself to shoot with just that one lens. So that's what you can do. You can just go with the 50mm one day with the focus of shooting just 50mm. That's the Starting Point Photography segment. If you have any questions about photography, please, as always, send me emails. For this one, you can send them to Shawn at startingpointphotography.com or the regular email address of Shawn@yourmaclifeshow.com. Both addresses work, and I'll accept emails from either places. And as always, I encourage you to go to the website at startingpointphotography.com and check out what I post up there. I post up different stuff up there than I do in other places, so please go ahead and give that a shot. I see we're already getting entry forms for the Apple TV contest. Thanks very much to our Secret Santa. He is going to... They...
Well, you said it twice
I know.
now, so it's a he.
He, thank you very much to him, is giving us the money to give to you for a 64-gigabyte Apple TV. So what you do is you go to the website, yourmaclifeshow.com, and the best thing to do is, because it's still October, if you do it in October, you can do it again in November. So you can get 2 entry forms. Do it tonight or do it during this week before the end of... no, that won't work. I throw away those entry forms. Never mind. Wait until November. Wait until November 1st. Then send in the entry form if you are not subscribing to the show. If you subscribe to the show, don't worry about it. I got you covered. I'll do all the work for you because that's the kind of guy I am, and because you're paying me. But that's why I'm doing that. On November 1st, for you folks who aren't subscribed to the show, send it. Go to the website, yourmaclifeshow.com. Click on the link at the top of the page. Fill out the entry form. It sends me an email. The email goes into the magic virtual hat. And then the first show in December, Kim and I will draw, hopefully if Kim's here, we'll draw a name out of a virtual hat and award a prize of a 64-gigabyte Apple TV to one lucky listener. So again, thanks very much to the Secret Santa for doing that. I always appreciate when our Secret Santas show up and let us give stuff away. Our friend Jason Painter down there in Australia and Sydney says, I just ordered my new Apple TV on Monday night. I was considering the 64-gigabyte model until I saw the price. This is a terrible year for the Australian dollar to be this weak. A 32-gigabyte Apple TV is $269 Australian. The 64-gigabyte is $349 Australian. He says, I went with the 32 gig. That is hugely expensive. How much is the Apple TV regularly? What's the price of the Apple TV? I think it's $199 American. Hang on, I gotta go to apple.ca. Oh God, Apple. CA/Apple TV. Future for television here. Buy. There's no Apple Store anymore, so you got to keep clicking the buy button. In Canada, the 32 gig is $199, and 64 gig is $269. I think it's a little cheaper in the States, but it's just a huge difference, Jason. That hurts. That's absolutely got to hurt. He also says Apple season continues. I bought the Magic Keypad 2 and the Magic Trackpad 2. Keyboard feels good and is amazingly thin. Trackpad is much improved, and I love the first one. He says, I think if you're not using a trackpad on the desktop, you're missing out. The expanded ranges of gestures you can do with the trackpad, and especially now with Force Touch, says to me that the mouse will continue to be marginalized. $165 for the keyboard, $200 for the trackpad. All right, see, first of all, right there, Jason, that's the reason I'm never going to buy another trackpad. $200? I think here in the States, when the trackpad first came out, or when I was in the States, it was $75, and I bought one and didn't like it. I just don't like the trackpad. I don't care about gestures. I don't use gestures on my iPad. The only gestures I use is when I'm riding a motorcycle. There's my gestures. I've never gotten into using gestures. I don't care about gestures. I can do what I need to do without doing gestures. So I never gotten into using a trackpad. The whole sensation of moving that way I don't like. And maybe it's because I'm an old school mouse guy. I like my multi-button mouse. I've got a 5-button mouse that does 5 different things in 5 different ways. So I'm not a big fan of trackpads. I don't think I'm missing anything out. I know what they can do, and I know that those things it can do, I can do other ways. Maybe not as efficiently, but I can still do them. So I'm not that worried about it when it comes to those kinds of things. ANC. I've never cleaned the physical screen on my 3-year-old iMac. It has all sorts of spots and who knows what gunk on it. What do I use to clean it before my upcoming trip? Okay, wait a minute. Dude, you've had a machine for 3 years and you've never cleaned the screen? That's disgusting. That's just, even just dust on it, you'd wipe off. Do not use any household cleaning products. Do not spray Pledge on it. Do not put soap on a dish rag and wipe it off. Don't use anything like that. Yeah, Monty, don't use any fluid with ammonia in it. The best thing to do, MacMan says I use ammonia-free Windex. I wouldn't even use that. What you do for me is you clean your screen with the same kind of thing that you clean your eyeglasses.
Which, you know what it is?
What?
That's just dishwash liquid and water. Not very strong concentrate.
What is?
The stuff that the contact lens stores sell you in
really?
a little bottle, or they give you, because they give it to you. It's actually just dishwash and water. Yep.
And then you're saying you'd put that at your eyes. See, I would disagree.
On your eyes, on your lenses, to clean your lenses. That's in the little squirt bottles. That
I see what you're saying, and but it's just very diluted.
Yeah.
Yes. Okay. All right. Good. Yeah. Yep. Yeah. Dish soap is best on glass. Yes.
Yep.
And it would be like a 1 to 100 parts.
Yeah, and it takes the grease out and it cleans it. Yeah.
First thing you do though is go to any eyeglass store, buy one of those lens cleaning cloths that people use for their eyeglasses, because if it's soft enough for eyeglasses, it's soft enough for the screen of your Mac, your iPod, your iPad, your TV, whatever it might be. Apple, when you buy a new machine, I don't know for how long, probably at least the last 5 years, has included a little black cloth that you can use to wipe down. If there is fingerprints or gunk that won't come off, by the way, also don't forget, clean those cloths on a regular basis too. So if you got stuff that won't come off just from a regular wipe, you can use the dishwashing soap idea. Very, very little dishwashing soap to a lot of water. You can buy eyeglass cleaning stuff. Folks in the IRC chat room, our MacMan, as he says, uses ammonia-free Windex. DJ McIntosh. Now, see, DJ McIntosh says spray a paper towel, Windex, wipe it off. No, DJ, do not. Do not, because a paper towel is made out of what? Kim?
Wood.
You might as well just take a tree branch and wipe stuff off with it. No, don't do that. Especially paper towels. You can actually see in some paper towels little pieces of wood in there. So, no, don't do that. Pulp, exactly. Use a dish towel or a lens cleaning cloth or something softer than what you're using, DJ. Arxon uses warm water. MacMan says saline. Sherry says, I just squirted directly on my glasses at the sink. She's talking about dishwasher soap. MacMan, our commercial wipes. I wouldn't buy the commercial wipes, only because there's other cheaper ways of doing it yourself. Windex or just water, spray it on paper towel, not in the screen itself, then clean the screen. Yeah, I still wouldn't do it that way, DJ. And Sherry says microfiber dish towels just work. So there's all kinds of other options, but you don't wait 3 years before you do that again, dude. That's disgusting. Charles Plater I didn't realize this was true. And Monty, we both should be embarrassed by this. Remember, Monty's been asking about wanting to annotate or draw onto images. Charles Plater says this can be done inside Mail on iOS. Long tap, insert photo or video, select image, long press on image, markup. So, Monty, in case you didn't get that, I'm going to cut and paste that into the IRC. And Monty goes, if you draw a circle or square, you're prompted to leave it jaggy or to make it neater, just like the Newton used to do. There's also a magnifying glass that can be used to call out details. The catch is that it seems to only work in Mail and not Messages. That's really interesting, Chuck. I did not know that it did that. I did not know that you could mark up inside of Mail on iOS. Charles, thanks very much for that information. That's actually kind of cool. Scott Thrift, also from Sydney, Australia. Hey, Shawn, just listening to the new podcast, heard you talking about the Pope and his tiny car. Pope Francis had the option of continuing to use the huge armor-plated vehicles that were used by his predecessor, but made a conscious decision not to. Up until his assertion of the pontificate, the popes always used large armored vehicles, some with bulletproof bubbles, for public appearances. Also, Ferrari actually gave the Pope one of each of their top-line models when it came out. I can't imagine the Pope riding in a Ferrari. That just cracks me up. Pope Francis actually sold off the car collection. I remember that. He sold off the Harley that Harley-Davidson had given him. He demanded the most economical vehicle that could provide the basics of protection. He's also done away with the bulletproof bubbles. Apparently, his logic is, if someone wants to shoot him, it's the will of God.
I agree with him.
Of all people in the world who should be saying that, yes, the Pope is the guy. If someone wants to kill me, it means God wants me dead.
If it's your day to go, it's your day to go. Yep.
Now, I don't know if this is true. I'm not saying I don't believe you, Scott, but he says he's also moved to the papal palace, lives in a basic convent within the Vatican, cooks his own meals, etc. Just thought you might be interested. Yes, what?
I saw an article about that where he kind of lives in digs with the rest of the guys.
Yeah.
And eats in the cafeteria and stuff.
I wouldn't doubt it.
He has a simple bedroom. He doesn't have a big palace room. Yeah.
Yeah, I wouldn't doubt it at all. Okay. Now, some folks commented on this from 2 weeks ago. The fight Kim and I got into over physics and driving a car. Mm. It's a fight that's continued to this day on a fairly regular basis. No, not really. I'm kidding. But our friend Maurice has a rebuttal. Mm. Just listened to last night's show and found your discussion in driving interesting. As a practicing physicist. Okay, Maurice is a physicist. All right, Kim? Mm-hmm. So you are not, correct?
No.
Okay. So we have to accept that Maurice knows more about physics than you or I, correct?
We would hope to believe that he does, yes. He's got that title. I don't have to accept it, but go on.
Is it fair to assume that Maurice knows more about physics than you or I do?
Yes.
Okay. All right. So this is what he says. Mm-hmm. As a practicing physicist, I can guarantee you that people do not understand the physics of driving.
Correct.
The physics of driving into a curve, for example, is extremely complicated. Mm-hmm. Frictional forces of tires in the road, centrifugal forces of the car as it rounds a turn, gravity, wind, the list goes on. Yep. A trained driver learns that when A happens, you do B. For example, when you hit a patch of ice, this is what is taught in professional driving courses, which is what Kim has had in her life. To understand the physics would actually be a really cool course for second or third year physics majors. Okay? Mm-hmm. Shit, someone else said something else. Crap. Your assertion that you learn physics from simply driving a manual car, the more you drive, is incorrect.
But you do, because you get forced to pick the correct gear.
Mm-hmm. But that's not learning physics.
Well, yeah, you do, because you're forced to learn it instead of just going, oh, shit, brake, I'm going too fast. You understand how to control it, but still drive through that curve and understand the physics of, not going too fast and how tight a curve you can go and at what speed. Yet when you just drive and it's accelerator or brake, most people accelerate, then brake, and then that's usually what screws them up and why we have so many rollovers at a particular curve out here on Hurling Island.
Dave Schaefer says about the 5K iMac. The reason for the 5K monitor, the 27-inch iMac, is obvious. It wasn't to me. He says it's aimed at video editors who want to edit full-res 4K video and have room for menus and controls. Thanks, David. I hadn't thought of that. Our friend Roddy Paws says, last week you asked us if we installed 10.11 yet. I normally upgrade shortly after, but I am going to wait for a bit this time. I don't use Disk Warrior very often, but I have to upgrade to the new version before I upgrade to the new OS. I don't even know version 5 was released until I checked the website for 10.11 compatibility. I can't believe Apple is still on OS 10. I thought OS 11 would be out by now. iOS 11 may come first. You also mentioned having to use image capture to set what action the computer takes when plugging in a camera or a card. I set mine to no applications, so a photo won't open. I agree, it's annoying. The other half is that every time that card is formatted, you have to change the setting again for that same card so it won't launch photos again. This also happened with iPhoto. Maybe Apple writes an invisible file on the card that gets overwritten by formatting it. I don't care why Apple's doing it. I just want them to stop doing it. I want them to stop opening up photos every time I put in one of these cards. I reformat my camera cards every time I take the pictures off it and put it in the camera. So every single time I have to do this. Why is the default on as opposed to off? In other words, why is the default that when I put this camera card in, Photos opens up, instead of the default being nothing happens? Let me choose what app opens. I'm never going to use Photos. I tried to delete Photos, and Apple won't let you delete Photos. Fuck you, Apple.
But you know when you do that, when you put the card in?
Yes.
You're saying you would like to put the card in and the screen stays looking exactly the same, and then you go do whatever you want to do with it.
Yes.
See, Apple does it for people like me.
Exactly.
Because I'm going, well, where the fuck's my photos?
That's
where
right.
are they? Because
right.
I'm expecting it to do something when I stick the card in. That's why.
Absolutely 100% right. You're completely correct. The thing is, though, Apple does this stuff without telling the user that it's doing it. In other words, when I got Photos, the first time I opened Photos, Photos should have said, Shawn, this is something we could do for you. Would you like us to do that for you? No, I don't want you to. Whereas the first time Kim opens up Photos, it should say, Kim, this is something we could do for you. Would you like us to do that? And Kim will go, hell yes.
Yes.
And the thing is, when I tell it to not do it, it keeps doing it. That's the other frustrating part of it. Just because I reformat the card, it thinks it's a brand new card, so it keeps doing it. It's from an app I'm never going to use. That's the other frustration, too. It's not like it's doing it with Lightroom, which is the app I use all the time. It's using an app I'm never going to use. And it won't let me delete that app that I'm never going to use. So it just pisses me off, Apple. DJ Mac, now Shawn, Apple Image Capture no longer offers the option on 1011 to stop Photos from opening. Yes, it does.
MacMan says the option is hidden in a menu in the bottom left.
Yes. Oh, the option's always been hidden in the menu in the bottom lower left. And the thing is, literally, it's this big. It's like that big. And it's hidden down in the lower left to click on that thing to do that. It's just so annoying. Tiny, tiny itty-bitty triangle. Stop doing that, Apple. Stop hiding shit. Just annoys the hell out of me. I want to say thanks to Jim Dalrymple for being on the show here tonight. If you have any comments or questions about Apple's huge amounts of profit and stupid numbers of iPhones sold and why Wall Street's a bunch of frickin' morons, send me emails to onair@yourmaclifeshow.com. If you have any photography questions, always happy to answer or listen to your photography questions. Please send those along to me. If you want to join our draw for the Apple TV 64-gigabyte Apple TV, send in your entry form on November 1st. Because anything before then, if you're not a subscriber, I've tossed away or will toss away. So on November 1st, send your entry form. Or it's just easier to subscribe. Just for $2, you give me $2, I do all this work for you. I can't make a better offer than that. I can't. I simply can't. I could offer $1, but then I'm losing money. No, never mind. Shut up. Send me emails as always during the week to Shawn at yourmaclifeshow.com. So until next week, as always, she's been
Kim Guy.
And I've been Shawn King, and you've been listening to Your Mac Life. See ya!